It feels like the beginning of the best love story of your life. Constant texting, grand gestures. I've never connected with anyone like this. Gifts you didn't ask for, plans for the future by week 2. It feels incredible. That's the point. Today we're looking at a pattern psychologists call love bombing, where overwhelming affection isn't just romance moving fast. It can be a mechanism deployed early to build a kind of trust and dependency that's hard to walk back from later. We'll cover what it actually is, why it works on the brain so effectively, how to tell it apart from someone who's simply enthusiastic and into you, and what tends to happen after the bombing stops. The term dates back decades, originally used to describe recruitment tactics in certain high control groups, showering a newcomer with attention and affirmation to accelerate belonging before asking anything of them. It was later adopted by relationship psychologists to describe a similar pattern in romantic and family relationships. Love bombing is an excessive, front loaded display of affection, attention, admiration, or generosity, used, consciously or not, to fast track intimacy and emotional dependency before a person has had time to genuinely evaluate the relationship. A few things distinguish it from simply falling for someone quickly. Speed disproportionate to actual knowledge. Declarations of soulmate level connection within days, not months. Intensity used as pressure. The affection often comes with an implicit expectation of reciprocation at the same pace. A shift in tone once you're attached. This is the part that separates love bombing from genuine enthusiasm, and we'll spend real time on it later in this video. To understand why love bombing is so effective, it helps to understand what's actually happening neurologically in early romantic attraction. Because love bombing exploits a system that already exists in all of us. Dopamine and the reward circuit. Early stage romantic interest activates the brain's reward pathways, the same regions involved in other powerfully reinforcing experiences. Novelty, attention, and validation from someone we're attracted to are, neurologically speaking, potent rewards. Love bombing simply maximizes the dose and frequency of that reward, right at the point when the brain is most primed to want more of it. Oxytocin and attachment. Physical affection. Extended eye contact and expressions of intimacy encourage the release of oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone. A relationship that compresses months of normal bonding rituals into days can create a felt sense of closeness that outpaces the actual track record between two people. The halo effect. Intense early affirmation makes us feel seen, often in ways we've wanted to be seen for a long time. That feeling can generalize into a broader, less examined trust. Someone who makes me feel this good couldn't be bad for me. Commitment and consistency bias. Once we've told friends, family, or ourselves that this is the one, we're psychologically motivated to stay consistent with that story, which makes early warning signs easier to explain away later. None of this means you're gullible if it's worked on you. It means you have a normal human brain. That's exactly why this pattern is so common. Let's walk through how the pattern often unfolds. Not every case looks identical, but researchers and clinicians describe a recognizable arc. Phase 1. The flood constant contact. Good morning and good night messages, calls throughout the day. Rapid escalation of labels, girlfriend, boyfriend, soulmate, often within the first weeks. Grand, sometimes disproportionate gestures, expensive gifts, elaborate plans, talk of moving in together or marriage far earlier than the relationship's actual history would suggest. Mirroring. The person seems to share all your interests, values, and even your trauma history, almost too perfectly. Phase 2. The hook trust builds quickly, often faster than it would in a relationship developing at a typical pace. Because so much affection has been given, an implicit sense of obligation can form. They've done so much for me. The target may begin reducing time with friends or other commitments, not because they were told to, but because the relationship feels so consuming. Phase 3. The shift. This is the phase that most clearly separates love bombing from simply an enthusiastic, fast-moving relationship that continues to go well. The same intensity that was poured in during phase 1 starts to be withdrawn, sometimes gradually, sometimes abruptly. Criticism appears where there used to be only praise. Affection becomes conditional or unpredictable. The person who once made you feel like the center of the universe may begin comparing you to that same standard. You used to be so much more affectionate, fun, easygoing. It's worth pausing here to say clearly, a whirlwind romance that stays consistently kind, respectful, and grounded over time is not the same thing as love bombing. The distinguishing feature isn't the intensity of the early affection. It's what happens once you're attached. This distinction matters because not everyone who moves fast is manipulating you. Some people are simply excited, expressive, or ready for commitment. A few useful questions. Does the affection have room for your pace? Or does it pressure yours to match theirs? Genuine enthusiasm can slow down if you ask it to. Love bombing often treats a request to slow down as rejection. Is the admiration specific, or does it feel like it could apply to anyone? I love how you explained that thing about your job today. Is different from, you're literally perfect. I've never met anyone like you. Repeated from day one. Does the person show interest in your existing relationships or subtly compete with them? Genuine partners tend to be curious about your friends and family. Early isolation, even framed as, I just want you to myself, is a signal worth taking seriously. Is there consistency between words and actions over the following months, not just the first weeks? This is really the only test that fully resolves the question. Time is the one thing love bombing can't fake indefinitely because the underlying behavior pattern tends to shift once the target is secured. People who've experienced love bombing often ask themselves afterward how they missed it. It's worth saying plainly, you didn't miss anything. The entire design of the pattern is to feel indistinguishable from real intimacy while it's happening. People who are especially open, hopeful about relationships, or who deeply value connection are not more flawed than anyone else. They're simply responding normally to a stimulus built to bypass normal pacing. The same openness that makes someone a wonderful partner is what this pattern exploits. This is also why love bombing shows up outside of romantic relationships. In friendships, in families, and in certain organizations or communities that use rapid affirmation to build fast loyalty before asking for something in return. Love bombing works precisely because it mimics something real. The antidote isn't cynicism about affection, it's pacing. Real intimacy can afford to take its time. It doesn't need to outrun your judgment to survive contact with it. If you recognize this pattern in your own life, past or present, that recognition isn't a failure. It's information. And it's the same information, that makes it much harder for the pattern to work on you again.